Welcome back! Today's review will be on Ys 3 Wanderers from Ys for the TurboGrafx and PC Engine CD. This 1991 release takes place 3 years after the events of Ys 2, when Adol defeated Darm and restored peace to the land of Ys. Adol, along with his partner in crime Dogi, have been traveling the world searching for new adventures when a rumor spread that trouble was brewing in Dogi's homeland of Felghana, or Kenai in the English version. When they arrive in Dogi's hometown of Serena, he runs into his childhood friend Elena, who tells him that her brother Chester has been missing for the past few months. Later, a miner from Tigray Mine returns to town and warns the villagers that monsters have invaded the mine and Mayor Grady is trapped. Adol volunteers to enter the mine to rescue the mayor. The mayor is freed and Adol runs into Chester in the mines, and later it is revealed by Elena that he's been working for King Maguire in Valestein Castle. Chester and King Maguire are after the 4 magic statues that will revive the demon Galbalon, or Demanicus as he's referred to in the English version. Galbalon is the source of the monsters appearing in Felghana, but why would the king do this to his people? What's Chester's motive for working under the king? If you're familiar with Ys 1 and 2, the first thing you notice about Ys 3, aside from that, which I will talk about later, is that it's played from a side view perspective. This change of view brings a different way in which Adol and his enemies move and attack. To free the land of Felghana from the evil clutches of Galbalon, Adol battles through the tunnels and depths of the Tigray Mine, the corridors of the Alkaino ruins, the sweltering heat of the lava pits, the bitter cold and peaks of Mount Seco, and the guards and traps set in place in Valestein Castle. During his journey, he rescues villagers and collects the 4 statues to reach Galbalon's island to seal away the demon once and for all. There'll be plenty of fierce beasts and obstacles that will get in Adol's way, but there isn't a challenge that he can't take head on. The town of Serena is where Adol receives most of the information about the next destination in his journey. Serena also serves as a link to the rest of Felghana. When you depart town, you can select from locations on the map that have been accessed during your quest. There is a short path you must traverse between town and the entrance or exit of a location. Your hit points will regenerate in this area, so take advantage of it if you're taking a beating from the monsters. The unorthodox method of bumping into enemies to defeat them has been changed to a more traditional sword swinging system. There are multiple ways to attack with your sword, and you will need to take advantage of this so that your journey is less difficult. You can stab upwards, which is good for defeating enemies that hover overhead. You can do a downward stab, which is useful when you're landing from a jump or falling from a ledge or cliff. Another tactic is the crawl and stab. This comes in handy when you need to attack short enemies or duck underneath enemy weapon attacks or projectiles. Enemies now exhibit a wide array of movement and attack patterns. Flying enemies move in a straight line, diagonally, or home in on you. Some enemies camouflage themselves and attack when you approach them. Enemies can strike with weapons and magical attacks. Some of the armored foes can block your strikes. It takes trial and error to figure out how to defeat the bosses. Each of them have set patterns that you need to pick up on. It boils down to positioning yourself in the right spot to attack and dodge their attacks, plus patience. You're gonna take damage, but it can be minimized if you are prepared and not too aggressive unless you are strong enough to take the damage. Magic rings, which were last used in Ys 1, make a return in Ys 3. There's the power ring, which doubles your attack strength. The shield ring doubles your defensive power. The timer ring slows down enemies. The heal ring slowly restores lost hit points. Finally, the protect ring makes you invulnerable to enemy attacks. Unlike in Ys 1, the effectiveness of the rings is limited to a counter that depletes when a ring is equipped. The rate in which your ring power depletes depends on the ring that is equipped. Ring power is gained by defeating enemies, using the Brocious Serum, which recovers a small portion, and paying for a full restore at the item shop. In my playing experience, I most often use the power and shield rings when I fight the bosses. Occasionally I will use the heal ring if I don't want to use a healing herb. And I almost never use the timer ring, I just don't find much use for it. The protect ring should only be used for one purpose, and I'll let you figure that out. The inventory system has been simplified in Ys 3. Aside from equipping swords, protective gear, and rings, most quest items you obtain are automatically used in key situations. The only items you can use on your own are the healing herb, Roche's serum, a mirror to stun enemies, an amulet to destroy enemies, an elixir which revives Adol if he's defeated in battle, and a fire jewel which lights up dark areas. When sequels to popular video games make major changes to the gameplay, like The Adventure of Link and Castlevania II Simon's Quest, it can be met with skepticism considering how well received the previous games were in their respective series. Now, the Ys series is nowhere near as popular as The Legend of Zelda or Castlevania, but Ys Book 1 and 2 was met with universal praise upon release, and for those that are familiar with my channel, it's amongst my all-time favorite video games, so it was risky to change the formula for Ys 3. While I admit that I enjoyed the bumping style from Ys Book 1 and 2, it is nice to actually swing your sword to defeat enemies. Having several ways to attack is a great addition since you must make use of each method to combat the many ways enemies approach and attack you. You won't spend as much time level grinding in this game as you did in Ys Book 1 and 2. There's a location in Sekko Mountain where you can quickly max out on levels. There are plenty of bosses to fight in this game and they require more strategy to defeat them compared to Ys 1 and 2. Once again, we are treated to a great cinematic intro and ending. The quest is more straightforward than Ys Book 1 and 2, so you don't have to worry about getting stuck. Ys 3 features an outstanding soundtrack with fast-paced and energetic tunes, and a nice mix of electric guitar, drum, and flute instrumentals. My favorite tracks are the Tigre Mine, the boss battles, and Galbalon's Island. Ys 3 features plenty of spoken dialogue throughout the game, but the quality of the voice acting took a step back in this one. The footage I use is from the PC Engine CD version, so unfortunately I can't let you hear it for yourself, but take my word for it. Now we get to the biggest criticism of Ys 3, and that of course is the choppy parallax scrolling. While I like that the backgrounds are detailed and they made the effort to feature parallax scrolling, it is very annoying. There is one section inside the caves of Sekko Mountain where the scrolling is smooth, but that location is not as detailed as the other areas. While I like the locations you explore in Ys 3, they're not as expansive or complex as the areas in the previous two games in this series. Combined with the quick level raising, it doesn't take that long to complete this game. This could be a plus if you don't have lots of hours to invest in one game. The platform jumping can be tricky in some sections, most notably in the mines and the clock tower in Valestein Castle, where it might take a few tries to jump from one platform to another. While I have a fondness for Ys 3, it is a step down from Ys Book 1 and 2, but the Ys fan in me keeps coming back. I had fun with it when I first played it 25 years ago, and I still enjoy it today. I say it's worth playing even though it's not the best game in the series. Emulation is the most accessible way to play the TurboGrafx-CD version due to the high cost of obtaining an original. Ys 3 was popular enough to receive ports for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis in the US. A complete overhaul of the game was released for the PSP under the name Ys Adol and Felghana, which is an absolute stud and must-own game. I hope you enjoyed this review, and as always, thanks for watching.